As Ian gets more and more worked up about what might have happened to Barbara, the doctor starts wondering why she left before them. So, only one journey in and there are already side effects of Arbitan's cack-handed bastardisation of the stolen vortex manipulator he copied. The doctor was there when Barbara, wisely, decided to get away from Arbitan as soon as possible. The metal doors open into a statue-filled room which appears to be hosting a rave. The music and migraine-inducing light show is switched off and Barbara greets them. After explaining that she panicked mid-journey and cut herself trying to rip the dial off her wrist, see? Cheap and nasty time travel. She's clearly been here a while as she's got changed, had a good look around and got comfortable with being waited on by servants. Really hope this treatment doesn't go to her head. As the travellers take in their opulent surroundings, servants bring in platters of various foods. Susan, Barbara and the doctor tuck in. But Ian is less keen. He's worried the bill will be something they will be unable or unwilling to pay. His tone and the haunted expression on his face suggest he's been caught out like this before. A young man enters the room. Ian prepares himself to pay the bill.
No, don't get up.
Much to Ian's disappointment, the young man is quite handsome. He isn't interested in payment, but instead explains that they are in Morpherton and they can have anything they want. Susan asks for a dress made out of a fabric she's found, while the doctor, after chiding her for taking advantage, asks for a laboratory with every conceivable instrument in it. The young man is unfazed and says it will be done. Maybe what is considered conceivable in Morpherton is actually quite a small amount? I mean, we don't know. The young man leaves, promising they will learn more in the morning. Susan seems to have fallen asleep in seconds. Ian is still suspicious, wondering how rich these people must be to give things away. Barbara tells him they shouldn't judge this culture by crappy human standards. And she's right. I mean, just look at how different their meaning of the word conceivable is. After telling Barbara how the young man didn't blink, and he really looked into his beautiful eyes, Ian settles down to get some sleep. Barbara was hoping for a good night kiss from Ian, but it's clear he only has eyes for the young man's eyes. Those alluring, unblinking eyes. Barbara understands. As the travellers sleep, the eyes of one of the artworks glow. And a young woman enters the room and places something on each of their foreheads. Seems they practice crystal healing in Morpherton. I mean, it's lucky for her they all sleep on their backs. Barbara's sleep is disturbed. She wakes up and the beach pebble falls off her head. The rave starts again. Luckily for her, the banging tunes have knocked the existential horror right out of her head. The next morning, Ian, Susan and the doctor are enjoying breakfast and admiring the glassware. Ian's scepticism seems to have evaporated after a morning of being waited on by attractive young women. He and the doctor compare itchy patches on their foreheads, because blokes will turn anything into a competition. Susan doesn't get involved, as she's also a gendered stereotype, and so is much more interested in her new dress. Susan, eager to show off her new clobber, wakes Barbara up. She groggily looks around and insists that everything is filthy, including the perfectly clean-looking mug the doctor offers her. She continues to angrily insist that the room is now squalid, in ways she hasn't seen since she was a student in Birmingham. Altos enters and immediately figures out what Barbara can see. He wah towards her. Altos and his absolutely trustworthy eyes offer to take Barbara to their physicians as she's overwrought. I mean, at least he didn't call her hysterical. She refuses and runs away. She comedy footsteps sound effects into a decrepit staircase and hides as Altos' own comedy footsteps are heard. He gives the staircase a cursory look, then moves on. Leaving Barbara to break down crying in the dust. Altos enters a room and reports to his masters. Only bloody be-arsed brains in jars. They tell him to take the doctor, Ian and Susan to their new laboratory before they are exposed to the mesmeron for the final time. I bet that's another one of Arbitan's brain buggering inventions. Barbara is also to be found and destroyed. Altos goes off while the brains prepare to do some gambling on their cousin's website, quoteloosebets.triskelion. Back on the stairs, Barbara hears more comedy footsteps. Must be a peculiarity of that particular corridor, and hides as a young woman is shoved down the dusty stairs of shame. Barbara tries to talk to her, but she just keeps repeating that she's to be punished. Barbara comes to a choice of two conclusions. One, she's a willing sub, and Barbara has holed up in some sort of bun dungeon. Or two, the poor girl is broken down victim of prolonged misogyny. Altos shows the doctor and Ian to their laboratory. Susan is probably away looking at a dressmaker's or makeup lab or something equally girly. An excellent example of budget-friendly production here. As the scenes only feature Ian and the Doctor, they should really be showing us the gilded lie, but by showing us the grotty truth, it allows for both cash saving and a lovely comedic moment.
Ah, now this might be helpful. Yes, if I can have instruments like these, I might be able to overcome the fault in the time mechanism aboard the ship.
They really can do it, eh? They can give you anything you ask for.
In their hiding place, Barbara notices the young woman caressing her necklace. She looks and sees there's a key of Marinus on the chain. The girl said she was given it by her masters, as it was what she most desired. Not the smartest move on their behalf, as they could have tied some string round a coprolite and she'd have treated it equally as lovingly. Barbara, being smart, figures out that she must be Arbitan's daughter. As another servant gives us a sneak peek at how bad their hairstylist are in Morpherton. But, as brains in jars, it's no surprise they're follicularly ignorant. The brains make plans to add the Doctor, Ian and Susan to their increasingly exploited workforce as soon as the second dose of mesmeronosis has been administered. After all, those gambling debts they're racking up aren't going to pay themselves off. As Barbara tries to get the young girl, Sabitha, to remember, the comedy corridor echoes with the sound of approaching feet. It's Altos, who attempts to take her away but is distracted by Barbara's cack-handed attempt at quietly slipping off. A fight ensues, which is ended when Sabitha breaks a small table over Altos' head. Barbara leaves to get help, while Sabitha gets some sleep. In a corridor, Barbara runs into Ian and gives him a hug. Noticing his body fails to react in the usual way to such intimacy, she realises something is wrong. And it's not just that he's still dreaming of Altos' big eyes, but it's too late. Ian takes her into the brain chamber. The brains explain how they are so highly evolved they outgrew their bodies, and then go on to talk about how incredible the human form is, like it's some sort of fetish.
The human body is the most flexible instrument in the world. No single mechanical device could reproduce its mobility and dexterity.
It's disgusting.
But we need the help of the human body to feed us and to carry out our orders.
They try to get Ian to kill her, but she easily beats him off. While he's discombobulated, she goes on to smash up the brain's jars. One of them anyway. Another one just goes limp with the shock. Ian comes to his senses and gives Barbara a big hug. She immediately feels that everything's all right now. As the freed masses burn the entire corrupt city down, ready to build something new out of the ashes, the travellers get ready to leave. Sabitha and Altos join them, Altos also being sent on the quest by Arbitan. Altos has a friend called Eprim, who went on ahead while Altos stayed in Morpherton and got brainwashed. After hearing of their plan and being told about the civilised society of Marinus, the Doctor decides to copy their plan. Funny that. Altos has shown the Doctor the level skip cheat code for his travel dial, so he can go on ahead alone. They plan to meet in 5 days. Plenty of time for the Doctor to find the key and maybe have some other civilised experiences. He's very firm in not taking Susan with him. Some civility is not for the young. Susan impatiently goes ahead alone. She ends up in a jungle that screams at her as she begs it to go away.